Okay, amazing, everyone. It's so amazing to have you all here. So excited to see what the Creative Collective is about. Welcome to this month's Wellness Wednesday, Mindful Canvases, a virtual art exhibition and celebration with our Creative Collective. My name is Deanna, and I'm the program assistant for the BC Brain Wellness Program, and will be serving as your MC for today's event. We are joined together today by our special guests, Mayako Kruger, Erin Salek, and Jolie Wu, UBC students and team leads of the Creative Collective, who will be sharing what the Creative Collective is working on, meeting some of our amazing artists, and how it impacts our community in a unique way. I'd first like to acknowledge that the BC Brain Wellness Program at the Jawad Moafajian Center for Brain Health is situated on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Musqueam peoples. These lands give us the space to host these events and activities that bring such value to our community. The Creative Collective team will also add onto our land acknowledgement before they get started. We have more information just linked in the chat right now with finding where your native where you're from, maybe what native groups are situated there. So take a look at that. I would also like to take a moment to thank all our program donors for supporting the BC Brain Wellness Program. Because of your generosity, we are able to provide these educational events in our online classes, creating accessibility to anyone and everyone. As an entirely donor funded program, we rely on your generosity to ensure the continuation and development of our program. So thank you for your ongoing support. Great. Without further ado, I will pass the Zoom mic to our guest speakers. The floor is all yours, Creative Collective team. Welcome.
Hi everyone. My name's Aaron. So thank you so much for being here today. It's really amazing to see what this project has become since it started almost a year ago, and we are so grateful for everyone today to be here to celebrate the Creative Collective. Before we get started, we just want to also acknowledge that we are all joining you from the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Hunkaminam speaking Musqueam people.
So a little bit about how the Creative Collective started. Oh, I'm Mayako, by the way. Um, it started when I was taking a part in the intergenerational project, also hosted by the Brain Wellness Program. And the senior that I was partnered with, we were calling on Zoom, and he had so much amazing art that he created on the wall behind him. And this is what sparked my desire to help in creating this community. And it was also inspired by this show and tell segment in one of the brain wellness classes, Artful Living, led by the amazing Jean Ward, where participants get the chance to share and celebrate their creativity with one another. So today we'll be talking about the importance of creativity and also the importance of imagination on our health and well-being. And then we'll move on to hear from 5 participants from our creative collective to share their art and their stories. And then at the end, we'll end off with a Q&A session where we'll open the floor to any questions for the artists. So far we've had 10 artists share their amazing work with us. Here's everybody that has shared their work and also their art. So we can take a moment to appreciate all the people who have sent in their art. And as you can see, there are a bunch of different types of art. There's photography, paintings, and a lot of different mediums. And this is exactly what our creative collective is about, just celebrating all the different types of mediums and ways that we can express our creativity. So before we start, we're going to do a quick icebreaker. I want everybody to take a few minutes to look at this picture and think about what you see, what emotions you feel, and what kinds of things it reminds you of. And then afterwards, we'll ask some people to share their thoughts. Okay, so we've had a lot of responses in the chat. I see that some people see a woman's face with long hair and her body moving. Other people say that they see an octopus and reminds them of an octopus, makes them feel wiggly. There's a monkey friend with her, makes them feel calm, made somebody smile. Somebody thinks of the 60s and the hippie movement and dance. Interesting. Okay, so as we can see, a lot of people had different opinions and interpretations of the art, which is exactly what creativity is all about. So I'm going to now pass it on to Jolie to talk about the importance of creativity and imagination.
Hi everyone, my name is Jolie. I will just be talking about a few points to why we think creativity is important. Exercising, eating right, and getting a good night's sleep usually take the spotlight when we talk about physical and mental health, but creativity actually plays a bigger part than we all think. Staying creative helps us maintain mental flexibility, which includes our adaptability and our willingness to shift our thought patterns to respond to given situations in less strictly organized ways. It helps us solve problems in new ways and encourages innovative thinking. When we engage in creative activities, whether it's through art, writing, or problem-solving exercises, we stimulate different areas of our brain and foster neural connections. This not only enhances our cognitive abilities, but also promotes a more open-minded and explorative mindset. Also, many report that creative expression can be invaluable in the healing process and can be life-affirming. Through art, writing, music, people can externalize and process difficult emotions, helping them reflect on their experiences. The creating process fosters resilience and a positive outlook by instilling a sense of agency, helping many find the deeper meaning of life. The immersive nature of creative journeys also promotes mindfulness, which offers a temporary escape from stressors, helping people relax. Ultimately, remembering that we possess the capacity to create something meaningful and beautiful fosters a deeper connection to ourselves and a renewed sense of purpose.
Yeah, thanks for that, Jolie. So now we know just how important creativity can really be. The next step is kind of thinking about ways we can stay creative in our daily lives. There's a lot of different ways that this can be achieved, and here are four that we wanted to share with you guys today. The first one would be taking risk. Trying a new way of expressing yourself that you've never done before is one way to stay creative. If you're not usually a baker or a chef, maybe try out a new recipe. You can really find inspiration anywhere from different pieces of media to others around you. You can even dedicate 1 month to a new project. And with the new year, it is an opportunity to try new things. Another way would be by utilizing your surroundings. Creativity is everywhere. It's a mindset, and living a slow life and taking in your surroundings can do wonders for inspiring your creativity. On your walk, you can pick up leaves, for example, and create a collage or gather rocks and paint them. There's definitely a lot of different ways we can make use of our environment to aid us in our creative endeavors. A third way of staying creative is by actively seeking inspiration. Some places I find inspiration are through Pinterest and just my daily life. And one of my favorite is actually nature walks, as they provide me time to reflect and kind of just slow down and take it all in. Yeah, it's definitely very important to take time to think about what is important to you and how you think it could be expressed creatively. Lastly, collaboration with peers and others is a great way to also stay creative. Surrounding yourself and connecting with individuals who have diverse perspectives can be a good way to stay inspired, or can be a place where you can get new ideas. This last way of staying creative is definitely something the Creative Collective strives to offer its participants by creating this community of artists who are able to share their works, which I think is a perfect segue to the next portion, which is featuring some of our artists and getting the chance to hear from them and their work.
So as Erin mentioned, without further ado, we're going to be presenting our creative collective. So first up is Sherry.
I had a big crisis 10 years ago, and not one crisis, but about 10 crises in family and surroundings. And I quit teaching because I got MS, and I needed to find beauty and inspiration around me. So what you have in front of you are different ways that I did it. The eagle on the right was one of my first. It was to start taking pictures of things that inspired me and presented beauty in my life. The cherry blossoms, anyone in Vancouver can relate to that. That was a picture. The picture to the left of the ocean is actually behind me, if you can see it. And that was one of my forays into painting. I was at the West Side Crawl, and I saw someone who had beautiful paintings, and I asked her if she would walk me through the stage of how to take a picture and make it into a painting, which I thought would, just as we're talking about creativity, I thought it would be one of those really easy things to do. But 15 hours later, this is the outcome. I love the picture. And I learned that you can be creative in the moment, but if you want to go into other things, it's worth checking out building skills. The mantra of my family for creativity is just start and find what inspires you in the moment. The picture to the left is a heart that was on a wall on my daily walks from the top of 10th Avenue down to the beach. So that's inspired all kinds of people for hope and what to do next. The top left is one I did I started in an art class, but really I walk once a week in the endowment lands or Pacific Spirit Park, and never noticed purple in nature. So as I painted that, I went into more purples for the forest. And the final one there in the center is Haida Gwaii, early morning, and kayaking. My partner took that picture, but it's me in the kayak. And it was just one of those awakening, inspiring, creative moments where I realized, even though I had MS, I could be in beauty, and I could do something that I've done at other times of my life. So those are my presentations.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sherry. That's very inspiring. And it's nice to see that you also do these nature walks like Erin talked about.
Love them. I think everybody, if you walk anywhere outside of your space and look, it's that whole thing of starting to look again and see beauty in front of you. I think as we get into AI and all the other gloom and doom things, you start worrying, where in fact you need that moment of realizing that beauty is all around you and you can start again.
Right. Yeah. Just taking a different perspective on
Yeah.
the news. Awesome. Okay. Next up we have Rosemary.
My inspiration is nature, always has been. And these couple of pictures here, the one on the left is Cole Harbor. And I loved that evening because it's a very calm and relaxing picture. And the top of the tall building has gold on it from the sun, and reflects in the water. And I just thought it was just a very peaceful photograph. The one on the right is called Red Ladner Harbor, and it's the harbor master's house in the distance is red, and there's red on the boat. This one was put on the March of Dimes cover of their calendar for 2022. I also won an award for this particular one at the Delta's Earth Day contest. The theme was red, so I put this one in, and I won the second prize in that one. And I continued taking lots of photographs because I'd had a a stroke, and then 4 months later, I had a ruptured brain aneurysm, and it affected my vision for a while. And so I just continued doing and focusing on what I can do rather than what I can't do as a stroke survivor. These other pictures, the one on the right, the butterfly and the iguana, they were taken in Victoria's butterfly gardens. And I love the butterfly because it kind of matches the flowers. And it's fascinating that they kind of they match these flowers. The iguana one was interesting because he was really large, and people ran over to take pictures of it, and I just waited, and everybody went on their way, and I decided to just crouch down and take this picture, and he kind of looks at me and poses. So I got this wonderful photograph of this iguana. The ones of the flowers, the tulip, inside of the tulip, I actually took that photograph in here in my apartment, and I thought it came out wonderful. And what I like about it too is that there's all these, it looks as if it's been painted with watercolor. There's streaks of the colors inside the flower. And I like looking at taking photographs of inside of the flowers, so the other two as well. So again, it's just to focus on what you can do, not what you can't, and just take everything one day at a time, especially for stroke survivors, because our lives get turned upside down a little bit. And so with photography and also my music, I keep being creative, and I think it helps with your brain and healing, and stress helps with stress all the time as well. So I have 2 CDs out, and I was very fortunate to be able to perform. One of my CDs was of music I wrote to Pauline Johnson's poetry, and they asked me at her birthplace to go and sing there. So that was a real thrill and magic. So thank you. And by the way, I'm on the traditional Tawasin First Nations land here in Tawasin.
Thank you so much for sharing, Rosemary. That's very inspiring.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Marjorie.
Well, I grew up with art. My mother was an artist, and she taught kindergarten and preschool, so we always had art supplies around the house. So this series of slides that I'm going to be showing you just shows you the types of explorations and experimentations I've done throughout the years. This first set of slides are monotypes. And what I did with the black and white ones was just covered a plate and then subtracted by using a wet brush to get the white areas. The center one with the sunflowers was done slightly differently. So I used a slightly different technique. I covered a mylar sheet with gum arabic and then painted the sunflowers in the background, and then let that dry, and then eventually and dampened some print paper, and then hand brazed the image onto and to transfer onto the paper. And you get these interesting backgrounds that you can't get really by just painting. So could go on to the next slide. These are acrylic landscapes. I usually do an impression of a place rather than a photographic rendering. I eliminate certain things just for compositional reasons, but I like to capture the mood and get the impression of calm or peace or serenity in a lot of my landscape work. I like mountains, I like rivers, and I try to get slightly different impressions as well, like the impression of sunsets or sunrises. These are Chinese brush paintings. Like I said, my mother was an artist and she did Chinese brush paintings. And in Chinese school, I had to go to Chinese school in elementary school. We learned calligraphy as well. So these are some examples on mulberry paper of Chinese brush paintings. And these are my watercolors. I like watercolors because of the fluidity. You can get these interesting effects with just allowing the water to flow. Or in the case of the night bloom, you can make it as clear and crisp as you want. So there's a lot of flexibility in using watercolors. These are my art cards and paper sculptures. The kimono was done with origami papers and an iris fold technique. I've recently started paper sculptures with the globe and pop-up cards with the Valentine cards. So I think I'm just showing you a variety where I explore different media and different approaches and just play. So that's my presentation.
Thank you so much, Marjorie. It's really inspiring to see how you've explored these different mediums.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Vicky.
Sorry, one of my vocal cords is paralyzed, so it's a bit difficult for me. I started painting in watercolor. Well, started trying to be creative in 2020 during the pandemic, and I found that it was really helpful because I had just had my 4th diagnosis of cancer, and doing the painting was very helpful to me to keep my mind off my illness. But I'm very interested in the plight of the endangered species on our planet. So these paintings here are the spotted owl, which is endangered in BC, especially because they're tearing down the old growth forests which is their habitat. The woodland caribou is also endangered in Canada. And those top 2 species are endemic to Canada. The Francois languor is a type of monkey that's endangered. I can't remember now which country. And the red panda is endangered in Asia. And I also, because I'm getting long in the tooth, I started painting at 75. I'm 78 now, I'll be 79 in March. I got very interested in my ancestry. So from my ancestry DNA, these are some representatives of the sacred feminine of West Africa and uh, and Celtic before they were conquered by either Christianity or Islam. So the first one holding the little sheep is Zanu, who's the Celtic goddess, and is uh, the mother of the Tuatha, which are like fairy creatures. The second one is Emily, who is a goddess, one of the water goddesses, and her one of her animal is water, um, not cobra, I can't remember. Oh, well, no, water boa, and it's also an endangered species. The top one on the right is Yemaya, who's ocean and water goddess in Nigeria and other parts of Western Africa. And her sort of myth or story is that she accompanied the slaves as they were coming across to America and, and sort of kept them safe. And the last one is Ona, who was the one of the West African goddess who is equated to the earth. So she is like the earth personified. And so that's my presentation. And like I started, like I said, at age 75. So it's never too late to start creating. And don't listen to what other people tell you or even your own inner critic. Just start. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vicky. That's very inspiring. And next up, we have Elaine. She will be speaking on behalf of Sue since she's not feeling well and could not join us today.
Hi, everyone. So I'm not sure how many slides you have for Sue, Mayako. Is it just the one
Yeah,
slide? Okay, so just on behalf of Sue, who wasn't well enough to join us today, I had the good fortune of visiting her in her home/studio a few weeks ago, and was able to kind of see her space and how she has set up her home, like I said, home/studio, because really that is what it is. There are canvases, partly completed canvases, because she works on a variety of different ones at different times throughout her living space. And then, so that kind of speaks to those two pictures on either side. And in the middle is a fiber arts piece that she's created. It's a beautiful sweater, and so around her space is also these just big piles of yarn and wool and other texture kinds of things. And she has done knitting and crocheting, and recently spoke to one of our other brain wellness groups about Tunisian crocheting, which she took up as a result of the way that her body is allowing her to continue to create. It allows her to still do handiwork that was otherwise difficult to do before. So just again, that inspiration of finding ways to bring creativity into your life despite the challenges that your body might be giving to you. And just to know that on the website, all of our artists are featured in depth. You can read more about each of them and certainly read more about Sue as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. So now we'll be moving on to our question and answer portion of So there's one question in the chat by Natalie. She says, "This is so inspiring. I have a question for Marjorie. How do you paint the watercolor night bloom on black paper?" So we'll go back to that slide. And Marjorie, if you want to,
The watercolor?
the
Was she
water,
asking about the watercolor or the monotypes?
the watercolor.
Oh, I work on paper, 140 pound usually. Fabriano is my favorite paper. I also the floral one I did on canvas, and what I did was I prepared the canvas with gesso, a mixture of gesso and paint media that allows then watercolors to be painted on canvas. Does that answer the question? Like, what was the question?
I think so. Natalie, if you want to unmute yourself.
Would that be okay? Yeah, because yeah, so I just started painting with watercolor as a beginner, just self-taught. And I was wondering, because your night bloom is on a black background.
Uh-huh.
So you mentioned it was actually on canvas. So did
Yeah.
you actually sketch the bloom on canvas and then paint the black around the bloom? Is that what you
No,
do?
I did the black is actually the gesso background, right?
Yeah.
And then you can do a graphite. The graphite shows up really well on the black, and then you can just paint the image.
But I thought watercolor is transparent. Did you use like gouache so that it can cover the black?
No. When it's on a gesso ground, it becomes parts of it are still kind of transparent, but there are different types of watercolor. There are sedimentary types, and then there's the transparent staining type. So when you buy watercolors, just look for whether it's the transparent or the opaque type, because the opaque type will act differently.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for your question, Natalie. That was helpful for everybody, I think. So a lot of people spoke about how they have physical and health issues, and I was wondering what kind of advice the artists have for people who are dealing with these kinds of things and how you guys continue to be creative and inspire others.
I think it's an interesting question because someone like me who was a teacher for 30 years, a professional figure skater, and many other creative issues, dealt with something where my body didn't work, my mind didn't work very well either, and I had so many crises to cope with, and I couldn't do it well. I think it's really important to trust that you can start again somewhere.
Yeah.
And that you also don't have to take the first medical diagnosis you get. So if someone says to you, you need to have these, and these drugs, and you try them and they're way too heavy for you, you can explore other ways. For me right now, I have a fabulous man at GF Strong who supports using physical abilities to heal. And I still skate. I'm 76. I still skate every week, but I skate a half an hour a week, and that inspires me. So I just encourage you to not necessarily take the initial response, but to explore creatively what other options are around for healing.
Yeah, good. That's good advice.
Yeah, I agree with that. I have arthritis, mainly in my hands, but I still manage to paint because every morning I go to the pool and I do my physio and warm-up exercises. And I find that really helps me, that my hands and my joints are less stiff and painful.
And
So I
visual,
think physical exercise, if you know, whatever your body can do. But
Yeah.
I myself do go to the pool every morning.
What I find is that previous I lived so much in my head, like writing and writing sermons, and before that, 20 years in grad school writing papers. And so when I got my last cancer diagnosis, my thoughts would just go round and round about that. And when I found that concentrating on heart did was a focus away from all that. And it was like a meditation that really helped me. Well, it's like a practice that helps me keep calm and be able to take what comes. So I find it really helpful in that way.
thank you for that, everybody. Rosemary, would you like to? Oh, Sherry?
Just want to add one thing. When you start something new, I don't know about you, but I am a complete slob. So I can sit with four other people painting and I have paint all over me because my hands don't work or I just happen to spill it or something. So just be kind to yourself when you start again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
Thank you so much for that advice, everybody.
May I say a comment? This is Shireen. I'm watching Victoria's beautiful goddesses paintings, and I'm thinking, when you paint, do you really feel the presence? And do you one with the painting? Because that's how it is presented.
Actually, yes, I do. And I had the the first painting of Zenu and the one of Ona in the show, and I was praying that they didn't sell because because I really do feel attachment to them. Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, I might add, it's like channeling my ancestors.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. I think that's all the time that we have today for questions. Thank you so much for joining us again. I hope that this inspired everybody to channel their creative side, and hopefully you guys can also join the Creative Collective. And another way to stay creative is the Brain Wellness Program's creative classes. So, as I mentioned, Artful Living, they have a show and tell portion, and it was hosted by Jean Ward. I'm not sure if yeah. I'm not sure if they're still hosting it now, but the Brain Wellness Program offers a ton of different classes to stay creative, and there's a bunch of different types of creativity: dancing, photography, mindfulness, art. So I encourage everybody to sign up for what they're interested in. And as Erin mentioned earlier, it's the perfect time to try something new with a lot of support from different people. And lastly, another way to stay creative is through writing. So the Brain Wellness Program has a blog, and you guys can contribute. Everybody is welcome to contribute. So if you guys are interested in contributing to a blog post, if you have any topics that you're very passionate about, please feel free to email me or Elaine. Okay, thank you so much again for everybody that joined us today. We really appreciate the support, and hopefully you guys also consider joining the Creative Collective with us. And I think I'm going to pass it on to Diana for some last words.
Yes, hello. Thank you guys so much for this amazing presentation. It was so cool to see the creative collective and meet the artists and see the work that they do. It's really evident that through experience and and through culture, that's the way this is a medium. There are different mediums of expressing that, and I'm starting my own creative journey myself, so it's really inspiring to see this and have you guys orchestrating this. Thank you so much. And yeah, that's all the time we have for today, everyone. Thank you again to the Creative Collective team for sharing your amazing work and for all of you guys for joining us today. I hope that, yes, some of you could learn something and also potentially join the Creative Collective and share the beauty that you see in the world. Yeah, and we will see you next month for our Wellness Wednesday, our research seminar. Thank you so much, everyone.